Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to FreeThought Hour. Now, in case you notice something about me that isn't quite as normal, it's because I've got COVID. Yes, I was actually tested positive at the beginning of this week, and it's a bit like flu. I'm lucky in that I've had 2 vaccinations, so I'm going to survive it, but I just keep sleeping. And I've got a bit of like a flu-y head cold, but I'll live. Thank you very much. Anyway, it's nice to be able to welcome a great adventurer tonight who goes to the places where we don't want to go. Tourists, beach, sun, sand, sea, all that stuff, or cities with museums and interesting zoos to visit, all that. Mike doesn't go there. This is Mike Fiorolino. I'll get him to correct my pronunciation in a minute. Who goes to the no-go zones? And here he is. Hi, Mike.
Hello. Good evening for you. It's the afternoon in Miami, but how are you doing?
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on.
So how the devil are you?
I'm feeling good. Sorry to hear about your COVID, what happened, but hopefully you'll get over it soon.
Yeah. My period of isolation comes to an end on Monday, so
Okay.
I'm on the mend. Yeah.
All right.
So did I say your name? Fiorolino.
Yes, you got it right. That's
Oh,
good.
good.
Yeah, you got it right.
What is it? Is it little fires or something?
No, in Italian it means little flower, actually.
Oh, little flower. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
We've all got some sort of origin to our names these days, haven't we?
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Anyway, tell me how you got to be the Mike you are today, because this is a very interesting, some sort of journey you've been on that's turned you into an adventurer. How did that happen?
Well, I guess someone I look at as the godfather of unconventional travel was the late Anthony Bourdain. I was a big fan of his show, and I even read some of his books. And when he passed away, unfortunately, I kept thinking, I watch his show, and then I go, well, who's going to carry the torch? Now, I'm no way comparing myself to him, but I liked how he broke barriers. He would visit unconventional places. And, I was browsing YouTube one day, and, you're watching all the typical travel shows, okay, here's the latest holiday in Ibiza, or I live in Miami. There's a million videos about the beaches and nightlife of Miami. And I'm thinking, there's millions of these videos of going to all the fun places around the world.
Yeah.
How come no one's doing a video series on going to no-go zones, like places like the south side of Chicago? My first episode was in Opelika, which is considered a really bad area of Miami. And one thing, too, that kind of inspired me to do the show was mainstream media only shows the worst part of anything, for example. And they do it for the attention. Like, for example, if something bad happens in the south side of Chicago, they blow it out of proportion and they make it sound like it happens on a daily event. Whereas when something good happens in a bad area, everybody's quiet.
Yeah, that's right. Not only that, but they make it more sensational than it really is.
Absolutely.
Don't they? I mean, we've got some areas in this country which are described by Americans, some right-wing Americans who have an agenda. They describe some of our parts of our cities as no-go zones. It's not true. There's nobody need fear to go anywhere in any of our cities, even though some of them are quite densely populated with Muslim immigrants. And even though we do have the occasional atrocity go on, we had a stabbing happened in London a year ago and the police shot the stabber, but that's very rare. And you need fear nothing. If you visit the UK, you can go anywhere and reckon you're going to be safe.
Okay, that's good to know. So I guess it would make a good episode if I do decide to film there one day.
Yes. Yeah. Well, if you want to come and see somewhere which is untypical, if you like, then probably the place to go would be Bolton, which is a northern city, which is has a very large Muslim population.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Yeah, but they're integrated. They're
Yeah,
not.
it's to me, if you're born in a country, you're part of the country. That's how I look. I'm a first generation American, by the way, and I consider
Right.
myself,
All right.
total patriot. Love my country, and I wouldn't live anywhere else in the world for anything.
Mm-hmm. So we can't, on a day like today, we can't not mention 9/11.
Yes.
As the Americans style it, getting the month before the day. But I was actually in America on that day.
Wow.
And we'd just flown from Chicago to Las Vegas. And so we were a bit out of sync with the time zone.
Right.
So when we got up, it was too early for Las Vegas. And we drove to the mall, which wasn't open yet. But you could still walk around inside it. And they had all these TV screens showing live pictures of what was going on in New York. We thought it was a movie.
Yeah. I kind of had a similar experience because I am from New York originally, but I wasn't there on that day. I got laid off the month before, and I had some money saved up, and I had all this, when you get laid off, well, you have all this free time.
Yes.
So I figure I'd travel through Europe for a few months. And unfortunately, when that horrible day happened, I happened to be in Rome, Italy. Now, what made it not so traumatic is luckily I do have family there. So at least I could, I had someone to share my grief with.
Yeah.
And that makes it a little easier. Whereas if I would have been totally all alone that day, because there were no phone call. We couldn't make any phone calls at the time.
No. Or fly.
Right. So at least I had that connection.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as it was horrible, but at least I wasn't alone. And but when I left Rome, I was pretty much on my own, and to carry that weight, for me, it was not knowing what happened to the people I know. That was the most painful part. And I still remember this is before we had smartphones. To check your email back then, you had to go to an internet cafe.
Yes, that's right.
And I remember waiting in line I think in Milan. I waited close to 2 hours to be able to use a computer for a few, just so I could send out some emails just to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
Yeah, well, a horrific event.
Terrible event. It's one of the. And when I went back home, I mean, it was tough. It was tough to see your hometown in ruins.
Yeah.
And even worse, you just think about all the lives that were lost, all the damage that was done, and it still blows my mind.
Yeah, yeah. So you've been to some of the places that sort of got the blame for causing that, haven't you? Would you like to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, well, I was in in March. I was in Afghanistan, and I put out a video of my experiences there. If you go to my website, MikeNoGoZones.com, or if you go to YouTube, Mike No Go Zones, you pull up the Kabul episode, and you'll see what I was doing in Kabul. Now, we all know that Osama bin Laden was the mastermind behind it, but he was a guest of the Taliban. And the Taliban didn't well. The thing is that what the Taliban did wrong is that they didn't hand him over right away. So when we found out who it was, the U.S. government actually told the Taliban, "Please hand him over, or the jig is up," and they've refused to. So in my mind, they were just as complicit. And that's what we all know what happened. Then the U.S. invasion happened, and they fell. And unfortunately, now they're back, which is really it's like a kick in the head.
Harboring a terrorist, we would call that, wouldn't we?
Right. Now, and all this, I'm reading all the comments on social media, how the Taliban, they've changed and this and that. I don't believe it. I wouldn't trust them with a 10-foot pole, as we say here. No way. They're lying. They're gangs. They're not they brand themselves as holy warriors and as extreme nationalists for Afghanistan, but they're not. They're like, they run themselves like a mafia organization. They make now that they have a government to run, but before they were the government, they made their money through trafficking, the heroin, the kidnapping, extortion, the same way like a gang like MS-13 would operate, or or any other pick any criminal organization throughout the world, and you pretty much you follow the same blueprint of earning money. So that's what they are.
The triads in China, based in China.
Same thing. They trafficking people, smuggling, extortion. It's the same blueprint that they follow.
Yeah. So how much of their modus operandi do you think stems from their religious position?
Let's see. I'm going to say 50%. They use religion as a way to control people, because they follow a school of Islam that is very out there, even for even people from Saudi Arabia, or like a Salafist or Wahhabist. Look at the Taliban, like, wow, these guys, you think these guys are really out there, because they follow something called the Deobandi school of thought. And the Deobandi, what that is, it actually originated in India, of all places, but it never really took hold there. But many jihadists follow that school of thought, where religion is everything. It controls no music, no forms of pleasure, no arts, no culture. It's just a life of work and praying, and that's it. And they banned, when the Taliban were in power in the 90s, they even banned kite flying. Now, kite flying is a very popular sport in Afghanistan.
Well, the hills had plenty of opportunity.
Yeah. They banned all the cinemas were closed down. All watching sports wasn't allowed. It's just a very austere life. It's a very puritanical way to live.
I heard, because as you know, I do the Global Atheist News just before this show.
Sure.
And those of you who've seen the Global Atheist News will have seen the reports that Mike's referring to, where the Taliban originally said, we're going to be all nice and cuddly before they won. And now they're in control. Suddenly, the gloves are off, and it's gone back to what they used to be back in the 1990s. But I heard that they also, back then, not only threw away all the cassette tapes, because that was the era of music, wasn't it? But they also banned songbirds.
I could see them doing that. If you watch my video in Kabul, one of the places I visited was the bird market. Birds are one of the most popular pets to have in Afghanistan. And I couldn't believe when I was walking through the bird market how large it was. It was massive. Now, yes, they're used as pets, but another thing I don't like to talk about, they use fighting birds to wager. That's like a common activity. You get two birds, to fight, and you wager on which one, and there you go. That's how they spend an afternoon. It's a pretty savage activity, but
it is, especially when they put spurs, metal spurs on the ankles of birds. Yes, it's horrible.
Yeah, I wish I didn't know that, but let's be honest, life isn't always pretty,
No, especially not in their neck of the woods. It seems that they don't want to permit any joy.
None.
No.
It's sad. And I really feel I made good friends there. When I was in Kabul, I was treated with so much respect and kindness by the staff at the hotel, my guides that I used. And, there's no nightlife in Kabul, but they do have hookah lounges. That was what I did every night. I go to the rooftop hookah lounge in my hotel. Yes. And I don't know whether to call him a bartender, because he wasn't serving me alcohol, but he did serve me juice and coffee and tea and the hookah. And he was a nice guy. And I'm thinking, I wonder if they're probably shutting all those venues down. And it was, it wasn't a bad place to be, because I had my non-alcoholic drink, but he was putting on music, and it was a mix of Afghani pop music and Western music. And ironically, most nights I was the only customer there, so I got to talk to him at length.
And of course, most of them speak English.
Many do, especially people that work in the hospitality industry. Obviously, if you work in the hotel industry, guides and all that, yes, they speak very good English. But if you go out on the street, like when I went out for lunch on my own, I had to point at the menu, and point and I want this,
Yeah. Should we play a clip from your Kabul visit?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, the streets of Kabul. Notice there's no Western chains, nothing. Okay, that's flag.
This flag is this the biggest flag in Afghanistan? Yeah, it's the biggest flag of Afghanistan in the country, and we're walking right toward it. It's gonna be a nice scenic view. By the way, I'm here with Madi, one of the tour guides. You've been very good so far. I mean, the day has been really great. You've been excellent. I mean, no, you're done a great job. I'm very the food we ate, everything that we've seen, really good. This flag was a gift from India. I was also told the sad story of the swimming pool located here. The pool was built during the Soviet occupation, but when the Taliban ruled over Kabul, they would execute people by pushing them off the diving board into an empty pool. Just one small example of their barbarism. Luckily, those days are gone, but I fear if the Taliban ever return to power, this could definitely happen again. On a positive note, the views from up here were incredible.
Wow.
How many people live in Kabul about? 6. After that, we had lunch at the Herat restaurant. And I must admit that the local food is really impressive. I'm a big fan of kebabs, and the bread all over Kabul is baked fresh daily. After lunch, I remarked to my guide that I saw plenty of men without beards and dressed in Western clothing. He implored to me that it was totally normal to be yourself. I thought that it would be a good idea to get a shave at a local barber shop. In my opinion, it's a great way to mingle and interact with the locals. And here I am at posh barbershop getting an old school shave with a straight razor. After my tour was finished, I wanted to grab a snack, and I walked around my hotel and I came across the Open Eye Bakery. Great place to hang out and a friendly staff. Hey, they have a party room up here. This is where you can come to smoke some shisha. Place is way bigger than I thought it was. And this is the family room. Okay. If you want to take your family out for a meal, this is where you can go. Very nice. And later that night for dinner, I ate at the NFC restaurant. And again, I was pleasantly surprised on how good the food was. I would spend all of my evenings smoking hookah at the rooftop hookah lounge in my hotel called the Moroccan View. The next day, I got some
Interesting.
disheartening news.
Let me just stop that for the moment.
Yeah.
Yo, Mike, really bad news. Actually, the Afghans didn't give us our visa.
Right, I got that off for the moment.
That's right. Yeah, but pretty much everything I spoke about, you'll see right there. I ate well. I didn't enjoy. Wasn't my typical evening when I travel, but you gotta roll with the locals.
Yeah, they have their own way of
Yeah.
sustaining themselves in their leisure time. So I'm putting up your website again. No, your YouTube channel, so that people can visit that and see the rest of the video and all your other videos too.
Sure.
So that's Kabul and the Taliban and Afghanistan, but you've also been to Syria.
Yes.
Now that's not a place that I would want to go, and not having seen all the pictures of destruction on the news, on the TV, it's aren't you just sort of visiting one war zone, one bomb site, it's not exactly like the Somme, which was just mud. This is crumbled concrete, isn't it?
Not all of it. First of all, we were based in Damascus. Damascus never fell to the rebels, and it was always under the government control. So many parts of the country are just totally destroyed. But if you go to Damascus, onto Latakia, Tartus, all those areas, they were always under the control of Bashar al-Assad. So those areas are actually okay. Although when we drove through the suburbs of Damascus, yeah, you saw a lot of destroyed buildings. But Syria is not as scary as media makes it out to be. If you watch the episode, by all means, you'll see what I'm talking about. One thing that mainstream media ignores. Now, I'm not apologizing for what Bashar al-Assad does. He is an authoritarian. I'll be the first to admit it. But he is secular. And that says a lot for that part of the world. Because he does not get, they always seem to leave that out for some reason.
Yeah, we certainly don't hear much about his secularism.
Right.
They're too busy posting about the atrocities.
Yes, but I'm going to say something again, might be a little controversial. Many of the things that they blamed him for, the gassing and all that, it turned out, I read many reports that it was done by ISIS and al-Nusra and putting the blame on him to make him look like the worst,
Yes.
to, make him look like the worst person on the planet. And most people bought it. Now, mind you, like I said earlier, he is an authoritarian. He doesn't allow any kind of political criticism.
No.
But if he leaves, let's say he would have, like, the regime would have fallen, would you prefer this or would you prefer ISIS taking over?
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's between a rock and a hard place, isn't it? It's a bit like...
You know what? At least in Damascus, I could go out at night. I could have a drink. We actually, if you see the video, you'll see us at a nightclub. There's no mandatory prayer. There's nothing. If you want to pray, go ahead. But it's all again, it's secular. Another thing, he's not a Sunni Muslim like most other people. The people there, he's an Alawite, which is a minority religion. So he's not going to impose his religion on others. So he kind of like lets everyone do whatever you want to do. There's actually a large Christian minority there.
Yeah.
And he, if anything, he probably favors them because they're no fellow minority like he is. And many of them are, well off and well-to-do and big supporters of the regime because they figure under him, they have a chance. Under ISIS, forget it. They'll all be dead. They'll be wiped out.
Yeah. It's his wife is English, isn't she?
I think she is, or if she's not, she did grow up in England. She's of Syrian background. I do know that, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I think she is from born and raised in England. And again, he doesn't enforce hijab. Nothing. He doesn't. He pretty much says, you want to do it, go ahead. But if you don't want to, it's fine. If you when I went out we hit up the local nightlife. We saw if I would have taken you saw the video, and if I had told you, oh, here's a pub in New York City, you would have believed me.
Oh,
okay. It's the music that we heard, everything. It's not what you think.
Very westernized. Well, no, that's interesting because there was a lot of states like that in the Middle East. I'm thinking Iran when it was Persia under the Shah that were pretty much completely westernized. You saw women in short skirts and so on. And but then, of course, the not the Taliban in their case, but the mullahs got control, and everything went straight back to the fundamental Islamic way.
Right. Oh, to answer the question of the viewer here, he says, when were these pics taken? I guess he means the Afghanistan pictures. That was from March of this year.
Yeah, the video we showed was taken in March. Yeah. Thanks for watching, Frank. Hi. Frank's in Kentucky.
Okay. If I could also comment more about Syria.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's a very diverse country, first of all. You have so many different groups there. You have different religions there. You have the Druze, you have the Yazidis, you have the Ismailis, you have the Sunnis, you have Shias, you have different sects of Christianity there. You have Catholics, you have Orthodox, you have Syrian Orthodox. There's so many, and Syria gets portrayed as this hardline extremist country, and it's really not. Now, you do have hardline extremist people that do live there, but and they did try to take over the country, but they failed. The Syrian government fought back, and also the Kurds in the north, they fought back. And now ISIS is a former shell of itself in Syria. I don't even think they hold. I know they don't hold any land like they used to. And if they're around, they're very underground now because the Syrian form of justice. I mean, if they suspect you're a terrorist, I mean, you're pretty much gone. They'll blast you off the face of the earth.
Well, the strange thing is, several of these people that are misrepresented in Western media,
absolutely,
are persecuted for being what they're not. I'm thinking of Colonel Gaddafi in Libya, for example.
Okay, good example.
He was. There was a revolution, wasn't it? He was deposed rather than an invasion.
But NATO had a lot to do with it too.
Oh yeah. I'm sure there was a lot of backup. Yeah, but it turns out when you find out more about it that life under him was not too bad. He provided a lot of services like education and
water, food.
Yeah. And
roads, infrastructure.
Exactly. And what's happened since is very medieval and barbaric.
Exactly. That's why I said the point earlier. Okay, Bashar al-Assad, is he the humanitarian of the year? Absolutely not. But if he gets deposed, what's going to come after is going to be a million times worse. I was in Iraq in June. That episode's coming out on the 22nd of September, by the way.
Great.
I spoke to one Iraqi there and asked about Saddam Hussein, and he made a comment. He goes, you guys deposed Saddam Hussein, but you wound up creating 1,000 more.
Yes.
So I mean, we can't. I mean, I'm not a fan of intervention like that. It's usually counterproductive. And well, we look. I mean, now Iraq is finally turning around, but look what they had to go through.
Yes.
They went through a lot, and again, Iraq is also very diverse. It's not a monolithic country. You have division between the Islamic sects, but also you have the Kurds in the north, and you do have a Christian minority there too.
Yes.
That is, so they'll have to learn how to live together because we're all part of the fabric of the country.
Yeah.
And I think hopefully the sectarianism that did exist there is finally a thing of the past, because I really I made good friends there, and is a country that I really fell in love with. It was a very special place for me.
Yeah, well, we do quite a lot of things that we regret, I think, sometimes. Yeah. So what would you recommend? I mean, at the moment, you're sort of doing a good job of putting the more realistic side to the sensationalism that we hear from the mainstream news all the time, that's a good job, I think, you're doing there.
Oh, thank you, appreciate it.
But what would you recommend if there was a solution to these sorts of problems? What would it be?
Education.
Yeah.
Education. For example, Afghanistan, let's go back to there because it's the hot topic of the month. It's still, many people don't even know how to read. Basic hand reading skills is still lacking in many parts of the country. So you can imagine if you don't even know how to read, and the only education you are getting is from the local mullah down the road at a Islamic seminary. And they're preaching, some kind of radical theology. And if you don't even know how to read, how do you debate someone like that? How do you answer someone like that?
Yeah,
someone like that will have total, control over the way you think and everything. And just showing people a science book and showing how to read it and have them ask questions instead of just memorizing one holy book over and over again in a language that's not even theirs.
Yes.
That's not the solution. You're not gonna, fine, great. You can memorize a book. Well, all right, congratulations. Good for you. But how are you going to apply that to, build a road, be an engineer, be a doctor? You can't. It's not something that has to change. That's my solution. Like a basic education, science, biology, engineering, technology, things like that. That's the only way people can break out of that mold. It's not easy though, because it's expensive and it takes time. It's not a silver bullet solution that's going to, okay, we'll put up a school and the next day it's going to be better. It's going to take years for that to
at least a generation.
Right, at least a generation. And look what the Taliban's doing. They don't want girls to even go to school. They'd rather not have them.
That's right. Yeah, of course, in northern Pakistan some years ago, it wasn't the Taliban, was it? In that case, it was one of the other Muslim terrorist sects, but they shot one of the schoolgirls in the face. Yes.
Yeah.
She is now in my country, here in the UK.
Yeah, no, good. I'm glad. I mean, she's at least she's safe there. Yes, I remember that case. Yeah, she wrote a book, and right. And what was her crime? What did she do wrong? You know, just
she went to school.
Right.
That was a crime.
I mean, that's something so basic for anyone. To me, I believe everyone has the right to an education, and to take that away from anyone is a crime against humanity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is a human right, I think, an education. But there's still so much of this blinkered, restricting, controlist religiosity about, isn't there? A few weeks ago, I reported in my news show about a rabbi in Israel who, because they, as you know, they've got a new government there.
Okay.
And the new government is quite liberal compared to the previous guy. And so they're promising schooling for pretty much every child. And this rabbi, this senior rabbi came out and said, the only education you need is in the Torah. You know, I didn't get any certificates, and look at me, he's saying.
Right.
As though it's something to be proud of.
Yeah, it's unfortunately there's still a lot of ignorance in the world, and you're going to encounter people like that no matter where you go and what you do.
Yeah. But it is going to take a generation, even if you could get started now, because you have to generate the teachers, and you have to generate the syllabus and everything, and the equipment, and so your first throughput, you're looking at 11 years ahead anyway, aren't you? And it's those ex-pupils who are going to really consolidate the idea of education by making their children go to school.
Correct. And to be his role model, that there's more, you can be an engineer, you can be a scientist, you can be an educator.
Exactly.
Instead of just, I don't want to put down people that work in the agricultural sector, because they're doing honorable work, but there's more, let's say you don't want to work a farm. You can dream, you can do something else in your life.
Yes. Open the opportunities.
Right.
Yes.
You have to give people a choice.
Yeah.
That's why I look at it.
Yeah. So we're not going to solve the world's problems overnight, unfortunately.
No, it's a long and painful road. And the thing is, the way we are now, we all want the instant solution. We all want everything to be fixed right away. We all want that instant gratification. And I guess I'm just speaking for people in the West. We don't have patience. We want everything done now and right away. We live in a very, that kind of society where, well, I want it and I want it now. And
that's right. We're used to going to the drive-in coffee, for example.
There you go. I want it now. Or I want to go shopping. I click on the Amazon. I can have something delivered to me tomorrow. It's just crazy. It's like, I want it now. And unfortunately, to educate people, it takes a long time to have them evolve. And unfortunately, now what's going on there now? I mean, I'm not saying life was perfect under the previous regime in Afghanistan either. Listen, the guy Ashraf Ghani, he was corrupt as hell.
Oh, obviously,
he was. Now he was a terrible leader. I mean, we saw, to me, look how he behaved. He ran out. He took out a whole bunch of money from the Central Bank of Afghanistan and fled to Abu Dhabi. I'm sure he's living in the lap of luxury as we speaking right now. Yeah.
He looked after number one.
Of course, he's like, hey, I'm leaving with my family, but first let me go to the bank, do a big withdrawal, and that's it. He's like, all right, I'm out of here.
Yeah. So it's not just the developing countries, though, that have some of these problems, is it? Because
Oh no, you're right. Yeah.
I read a news article, I think it was last week, about the situation in the States, where in the last, is it 10 years? I think it's in the last 10 years, acceptance of the truth of evolution has just gone up from whatever it was, 46% to 51%. So it's taken a long while, but finally,
Yeah.
there's a majority of people in the United States now think that evolution is a fact.
Right. As an American, I'm embarrassed. I mean, I'm a Darwinist all the way through. But I mean, I don't get it. I have no explanation for that either. It's I think people
in that case as well, it is also religious holding back. In the case of the US, Christian holding back, of course.
Yeah. I mean, here in the States, we have some hardline denominations where they're pretty they're very preachy, I should say, or kind of extreme in their views. But the difference between what we have here and what you see in a place like Afghanistan, they have no power. They can't. I mean, if they tell me to go to church, I can always tell them, no, I don't want to. What are they going to do to me? They can do nothing. They can't find me. They can't force me. I don't have to listen to them. So I just people like that, I just ignore them. If they want to live in their own little bubble, fine. That's fine. It's fine with me.
Yeah, but we were talking about education, and one of the reasons given for why it's taken this while for evolution to get a good hold in the US is because there was a previous generation of teachers who weren't fit to teach evolution.
Right.
And now they've retired. We've got a new cadre of teachers in which can handle the subject. So this illustrates what we were saying.
Right. Everything takes time.
Yeah, exactly. It's a slow process.
Yeah, it's not, again, nothing is instant, or something like that is just can't happen overnight.
Yeah. So where else have you been that's
Lebanon was a country I really liked. I wasn't there very long. Now, Lebanon is it's a weird setup they have there. They have something they're called a confessional democracy.
Yeah, what's that?
Okay, it's kind of weird. They have they have a president, a prime minister, speaker of the parliament, and the deputy speaker. And they allot each of those positions by religion.
Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, to be the president, you have to be a Maronite Catholic. You have to be. It's in the Constitution. To be the prime minister, you have to be a Sunni Muslim. To be the speaker of the parliament, you have to be a Shiite Muslim. Now, and to be the deputy speaker, you have to be an Orthodox Christian. And when they wrote up the Constitution, they figured, okay, we're going to do it this way. That way, everybody has a place at the table. They picked the four main groups in Lebanon. They figured, okay, this way everything will work itself out. But it turned out to be a disaster. All it did was create sectarianism.
What an interesting idea, though, isn't it? We're going to put you all in one room and you can fight it out. Pretty
much. And but to me, shouldn't the most qualified candidate be the president, the one that gets the most votes? I mean, the fact that you have to be a Maronite, that to me is just bizarre.
Yes. Yeah, and I don't think most of us would want any sort of religion attached to any sort of government. Correct.
Now, Lebanon is not it's kind of weird setup. I mean, every denomination has like their seat at the table, but they can't enforce religion on anyone because it's like a really technically it's a secular country, but to hold any power, you have to be a member of a denomination. It's kind of a really haphazard way of doing it, but look at the trouble they're in now. The country's bankrupt.
Yeah. Were you there before or after the Beirut explosion?
I was there before. And if you watch the video, you'll see me walking through. It's called the Mar Michael neighborhood. Mar means saint. There's a neighborhood called St. Michael in Beirut, and I walked through there at night. And that neighborhood now was pretty much blown to bits.
Yeah.
when that explosion happened. And when I saw that happen, it really broke my heart because it's a country I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
I'm a foodie, for example. I love trying new wines and
Yeah,
foods and this and that. And the wine culture in Lebanon is amazing.
Mhm.
And it was a real shame to have a chunk of the city was just destroyed, and the country's bankrupt. The currency is
Yeah. Now they've got huge economic problems as a result.
huge. And then
COVID on top.
COVID, yeah, they're going through a horrible COVID wave, the blast, and the currency is in free fall. I mean, if this is not a recipe for disaster, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Mm.
And I mean, I can only hope they find a way to climb back out of this hole. But again, it's going to take years because how do you rebuild a chunk of the city when you're broke?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which makes me think of Haiti, where they've had all these earthquakes. Is that one of your jaunts? Have you been?
I haven't been to Haiti yet. I would love to go.
Mm.
But again, Haiti's going through COVID too. And now the earthquake, everything's destroyed. It's I find Haiti to be a fascinating place. I mean, we have a large Haitian community here in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very unique culture. Again, the food is good. I would love to like record a voodoo ceremony, but the real one, not one for tourism. I want to see a real. The thing is, I'd have to get a contact there, and they'd have to bring me in because obviously I'm not from there, and it's something that's I'm working in my mind, like how to get that. I would need definitely a local to take me deep into the heart of a ceremony. I figured I'll make some good content. I don't believe in voodoo, but come on, if you're there, I got to see what's going on. I just
there's a sort of air of anthropology about this, isn't there?
Yeah, because again, I grew up here, middle class, blue collar, say working class upbringing, pretty normal. And I didn't see anything like that growing up where I did.
But we're all interested in how other people do things.
Absolutely.
The world would be a very boring place if we were all the same, coming out of the same peas out of the pod.
That is very correct.
So are you thinking of developing your channel? At the moment, you've got a documentarian channel of your weird tourist activities. Are you thinking of developing that into a tourism enterprise? Would you be leading parties into these no-go zones?
No, you know what? I don't know if I would do that because if anything happened to anyone, I don't know if I could live with myself because I do know every time I travel to a place like Kabul, I am putting myself at risk. Yeah. And I wouldn't want to be responsible for anyone if something, God forbid, something happened. Oh, sorry, that was just force of habit by saying that on your show.
You meant Zeus, of course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love Clash of the Titans. It's one of my favorite movies as a kid. But it's I don't know if I'm not much of I know how to organize things for myself. I don't know if I have it in me to organize it for a group of people. Yeah. That's I don't know if I have the patience for it. Yeah. But who knows? I mean, things can change in the future, but it's just
this would be a bit more hairy than just going on safari, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because imagine wrangling up, let's say, 10 tourists to, okay, we're going to go through the markets of Haiti.
Yes.
Go through a voodoo market or something like that. It'd be, I don't know if I have the patience because there's always one person in the group that like would wander off and someone wants to do this and someone wants to do that. And, oh, I can't do this. I can't eat this. I have this food allergy, I don't know if I could put up with that. It's not in my nature.
And imagine the insurance problem too.
Yeah, that too. And you also, to do that, you need to have like an army of fixers to have everything arranged for you. And that's a lot of work. That does take like logistics and things like that. It's definitely would take a while.
Yeah, that would be a big problem. Yeah, you'd probably have to have a resident doctor in your tour.
Yeah. Right now, what I want to do with the series is just keep growing it. I mean, I still remember the day when I had like 0 subscribers, and so just keep growing, keep going to more countries, making more contacts. I made some good friends by traveling the world like this. I've made friends in pretty much every place I visited, and that's something I can't put a price on.
No.
Mhm.
It's difficult to value friendship.
Yeah, absolutely. And the adventures I've been on, I've seen some pretty wild things.
Yeah. So where are you going next then? What's your schedule for the next few months? Are you
Okay, well, Iraq, the video's in the works right now. It's pretty much 99.99% done. We're just working on a few graphics.
Yeah.
My following episode, I guess I'm going to announce it here before anywhere else. I'm staying home. I'm going to go to a neighborhood of Miami called Liberty City. It's considered one of the worst rundown areas of Miami. It's full of, well, if you listen to the media, it's full of gangs and danger. But I want to show the other side of Liberty City because, they filmed a movie there called Moonlight, which won the Academy Award a few years ago. And
I didn't quite catch what you called it. It sounded like British City. Is that? That's
no,
not
Liberty.
it.
Liberty.
Oh, Liberty City. Yeah. Okay.
That's going to be my next episode. After that, I'm trying to hopefully in January or February, I'd like to go to Kurdistan, the north of Iraq.
Yeah. On the border of Turkey and Syria.
Right.
And
a little bit of Iran.
Iran, yeah.
We all know Kurdistan is not a sovereign. They kind of have a little bit of autonomy, but they want to be a country. But I don't think any of the other countries are going to give them give in to this. But it would be interesting to go to a region that wants to be free, but they don't have the independence that they want. Now we all know that was the cause of colonialism and drawing these lines in the sand and all that. But we can't change the past either. And let's say, I know Turkey doesn't want to give them their independence, and neither does no one does. It's they're in a bit of a tough situation. I mean, I believe every country, every group of people on Earth deserve to have their own country, but it's not for me to decide that.
Well, of course, the other alternative would be for nobody on the Earth to have.
Yeah, right.
Just one planet.
Right.
That's too much of an ideal to hope for.
Yeah, well, I don't think it'll happen in our lifetime. I'm just being a realist there.
No. I think it would take a Martian invasion to make us that unified.
Okay, yeah, right. Yeah, anything short of that, I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay. So, Mike, you've been fantastic. Thank you very much.
Again, I can't thank you enough for having me on. It's been a pleasure to talk about my series. And so hopefully, after Iraq is released, I can do the 2 others. And then from there, I'd like to also take a jaunt into film in South America. Yeah.
There's a lot going on there that could be
investigated. Well, I have roots there too. My mother's family's from Peru.
Ah, right. Okay.
And Peru again. I mean, places like Peru, Venezuela, Colombia, they get a bad representation in the media, and it's not fair. I've been to Peru. I've been to Colombia, and I always had a fantastic time. I was always treated again with respect and kindness by everybody. And the way TV shows represent Colombia, for example, the Narcos and Pablo Escobar and this and that. It's not fair. There's a lot more to the country. You have a great food culture, music. You have arts. You have there's things to do as a tourist. It's just amazing. I'm not, I go, how come they never show that? They only show, the bad.
Yeah, it doesn't make headlines unless it goes bang, unfortunately.
Well, they say in Miami, if it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah.
And that's just the way they all operate.
What a shame. But there's also in South America, there's some of these, you know what I mean by populist politicians, don't you? Because
God, do I? Yeah. I mean, we got one in Venezuela. Peru just elected one.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's
Bolsonaro in Brazil.
Yeah.
It's
a mess. Politics in South America. It's not for the faint of heart.
No, absolutely not. It's a thankless task.
Absolutely. And just the level of corruption there it's amazing, Whenever, like in Peru, to give you a slight example, they were very short on vaccines, and they allotted all this money to buy vaccines from the United States and Europe, but then the money went missing.
Yes. I wonder in whose pockets?
Oh, of course. Come on. And, you know, in Miami, a dirty secret about Miami is that this is the money laundering capital of South America.
Mm.
Many politicians own property all up and down Brickell Avenue. They own all these penthouses.
Mm.
And many of these penthouses go for $1 million a pop, $1 million each.
Mm.
And they are just buying them all up
Yeah.
while the people at home are going hungry.
Yeah. Mm.
It's a good way to launder money because you figure you have $10 million, you probably have $10 million worth of property. You hold on to it for a while. Then you sell it off one by one, little by little. You sell it off. The money goes to a holding company in the Cayman Islands or in Panama, and no one's the wiser.
Yeah, that's right. It's clean money by then.
It's clean money. There you go.
Well, quite a large part of North London is owned by the Russians.
Oh yeah, there's a huge. If you go to Sunny Isles by Miami, that's pretty much all run by the Russian mafia there.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
I blame the jumbo jet.
Yeah.
We weren't so mixed up until it became cheap to travel.
Yeah, and we have direct flights to Moscow. Last time I checked, this is before air travel changed quickly.
Yeah. Mm. Well, there you go. We've got a nice thank you from Frank.
Oh, okay, much appreciated.
And there will be other people watch this when it's becoming a podcast in a few minutes. But I want to tell people that next week I've got another interesting guest who he's a young guy who is very active on Twitter, and he trades under the name of Beyond Belief.
Okay, I never heard of him. Sounds interesting.
Well, his first name is Logan, but his Twitter handle is Beyond Belief.
Beyond Belief. I'll look it up.
I've had a little chat with him, and he's a very interesting guy. He's got some interesting viewpoints. So we'll look forward to seeing him next week. And in the meantime, Mike, once again, thank you very much. You have been utterly fantastic.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Take care. Take care.
Thank you to our viewers too.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.